Hello, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in here. Let's get right to it, shall we? We're going to talk today about our perception, how it comes about, and what we can do about it. How we end up seeing what we see, and how we can change that. Oh, yes, because we certainly can. Let's put some practical emphasis today on this piece of what we can do about it, because as it turns out, everything, it's quite a lot. You are not the victim of the world you see. It doesn't matter if you're playing that today or not. We've all done it from time to time. You are not. You have more power than you can even imagine. And I hope that you can imagine quite a lot. I really do. Because when we begin to glimpse this, when we begin to invite it, expect it, things really do appear to change a lot, a lot. And that's an understatement, as some of you may have experienced for sure. So let's talk about this because there is so much that we can do. There's a lot that we can do. So just a very, very brief summary if you're new or newer to this course or to these discussions. Our perception is what we look out and appear to see here in the world. Perception involves what we call a dualistic split between the perceiver and the perceived, between a subject and an object. This is how we go about life here in the world, thinking that this device is the perceiver and everything else, all of these other devices and everything else that we see and taste and touch and experience is the perceived, an object, something else that appears to be outside of us. That's perception. Knowledge is who and what we really are. It's our true being, which is beyond perception. There is no separation of any kind. There's no separation or split between a subject and an object. There is only perfect oneness. That is reality. Yes, capital R, reality, truth. This can be experienced. In other words, known. That's knowledge. That's where we're headed in a manner of speaking. This is our natural state, and this sense of separation is simply a dream from which we will all wake up. That's a very quick summary. When you wake up depends quite a lot, largely, on when you want to. Hmm. So, when will that be? Well, I don't know. Perhaps it will be in the next 15 minutes for you, perhaps not for a long, long time. I don't know. We're invited to choose here right now in the present moment. Choice seems very meaningful to us right here. So we're provided with the choice, one choice between exactly two thought systems. There are two things that we can choose between. Everything else, all the other billions, millions, billions, trillions of choices that we appear to have, all derive from this one choice between exactly two options. One's real, one is not. And these two options are not competing with one another. They're not in competition. Remember, one is real, one is not. And we appear to be here having this conversation because we've chosen repeatedly the option that is not real. That is known here in A Course in Miracles and other spiritual traditions in the world as the ego, this false sense of individual self. There is no individuality, there is no separation of any kind. This is an idea that, of course, our sense of individual self, the ego, resists often bitterly. So you may be experiencing that resistance right now. That's the ego. The ego wants you to go back to the way it was when you were sitting on the couch, in a manner of speaking, not concerned at all with spirituality, not concerned at all with extending love to the Son of God and healing the mind. But you are. You're here. So be glad to know that you can't go back. Nor would you want to, right? Why would you want to? So our perception comes about through the sheer power of our mind. It's a direct result of what we invite. Perception is a result. It is the result of our invitation. So, what are we inviting? Peace or chaos? What we see reflects that. How it works is we have an invitation in our mind. We issue an invitation in our mind to peace or chaos, light or dark, God or the ego. Those are the choices. So we invite one of those into our mind. And we then expect what we invite. What we invite into our mind, we expect. And therefore, because we expect it, we see it. It turns up, it shows up in our experience. We invite something, and then we expect it, and then we see it. That is the progression. So, what are we inviting? That's the question. This invitation is in the mind. After all, this course, A Course in Miracles, is a course in mind training. What else would it actually be? If that doesn't sound sparkly and shiny and hot and sexy to you, well, that's all right. How about awakening? Does that sound sparkly to you? Desirable? Knowing truth, knowing reality, knowing God, knowing who you are and experiencing this eternally? Does that sound sparkly enough? It's a choice that only you can make. No one else can make it for you, so no one else will. They can't. So the question for all of us is, whose manifestations will we see? Will we see the ego's manifestations, or will we see the manifestations of the Holy Spirit? Because that's the choice. Are we inviting the ego or the Holy Spirit? Are we inviting division, separation, and the chaos that results? Or are we inviting union, perfect oneness, love? forgiveness, peace and tranquility for all time, because it is eternal. In other words, beyond time completely. Which are we inviting? Quite naturally, as you all know, much is made in popular spirituality about manifestation, so called conscious manifestation, and all of that. So understand that this is the principle by which that is articulated and expounded by many teachers of many different spiritual traditions, and that actually passes for spirituality in a lot of people's books here in the world. So I refer to it as popular spirituality. This course does not concern itself with the manifestation of money or a beautiful life, a beautiful home, physical objects, a hot, sexy, romantic partner, that sort of thing. This course does not concern itself with that. It's concerned with healing the mind. But this is the principle upon which all of those systems or practices are based on our power, on the power of mind. What do we invite? We then expect what we invite and see what we expect. As we just went through, what are you inviting? What do you want, in other words? Do you want a bigger bank account? Great. Do you want a yacht? Which kind of sounds like fun, doesn't it? Great. Do you want the peace of God? Hmm. What will you then see if you want the peace of God and nothing else? You invite the peace of God and expect it because you invited it. And what do you then see? What you expect. The peace of God, the world completely forgiven, so that perception easily is translated into knowledge. That's awakening, by the way. Full awakening, not just a partial awakening event, which we may have at any time on the path, but full and total, what we call enlightenment or realizing God, whatever you wish to call it. It's called many things. So, what do you wish to see? So, as you all know, many, if not most, of these practices or spiritual traditions that we see here in pop culture about manifestation stop far short of the peace of God. Keep going. That's what the Holy Spirit invites us to do. That's what Jesus invites us to do. Jesus is the manifestation of the Holy Spirit. They're one and the same. You may call the Holy Spirit whatever you like. Throughout these videos, I refer to the Holy Spirit as our inner teacher because the Holy Spirit is part of our mind, that part of our mind who knows who we really are, and will help us to clear all of the clutter so that we may see that for ourselves. But we play a critically important role in wanting the peace of God and nothing else. Where we appear to get into all kinds of what we would call trouble or a dilemma or a challenge or a pretty little fix here in the world is the fact that we don't fully want the peace of God and nothing else. You may claim that you do. And if you do, and you really do, fantastic. That's what we're invited to want, and only that. But here in the world, we want both things. Our mind is what is referred to as split, and it is split. conflict, that's a split mind. It's a sign of a split mind. The fact that we feel absolutely fantastic one minute and then we are experiencing some very low lows the next, we're elated and we feel joyful. And then something happens to send us crashing back down into our victimhood, perhaps a blame game. We fly into fits of rage. We become frustrated at mere trivialities because they don't accord with the way we think things are supposed to be. So we experience a roller coaster ride. We do. It's an up, down, spinning in circles, going upside down, up, down, sometimes in rapid, dizzying succession that leaves us exhausted. Had enough yet? At some point, you've most certainly answered yes to that, or you would not be watching this. So, here, while we want both, that's what we appear to see is this world of light and dark, of warfare and peace, of frustration and deep contentment. We appear to see both because we want the split. Remember, it's what we're inviting. When we see chaos, that's what we're inviting in our mind. What is the solution to that? Invite peace instead. Because in reality, it's not possible to have both. One is not real, the other is. Which is stronger? That which is real. The peace of God. All of our conflict is based on this idea of separation, that we can exist as an individual ego, cut off from other individual egos. So we appear to see 8 billion and counting human beings, plus all of the other myriad life forms that exist on this spinning ball of rock, which passes for our home, but which is not. Where is our home then? In God. Where else? You want to know why? Where else? There is no place else. There is nothing else. There's nothing else. Our mind is powerful. It's so powerful that we can choose to remain asleep and chase after all of our shiny objects and experience the horrendously tiring suffering of ups and downs and excess activity and frustration. We can continue to do the same thing that we've been doing over and over and over again, but we get the same result, don't we? More spinning. So we're shown here the way out. Set all of the ego clinging aside. Want the peace of God and nothing else. Invite the peace of God and nothing else. Choose peace instead of chaos. True peace, lasting, eternal peace. Expect that then, because you invite it and you see what you expect. This is how it works. So let's go beyond simply wanting a stronger, more fit physical body. Let's go beyond a bigger bank account. Let's go beyond a gorgeous wine cellar or a yacht or a fancy automobile. Let's go beyond mere social status and prestige here in the world. Let's want the peace of God and nothing else. Okay. So, if you haven't gathered already, this is some deep stuff. You deserve nothing less than that. I mean, we have all spent a lot of time circling around and doing the same thing over and over again. This is not the same thing that you've been doing over and over again. This course invites you to question the very foundations of everything you now believe. So, will you? Only you can answer that. And I hope that the answer may be a resounding yes. To the extent that this deep video, this deep discussion, and they're all like this, to the extent that these raise questions, that is perfectly natural. There are often a number of questions raised here when one picks up and begins to study A Course in Miracles, because it is so different. I mean, how often in our daily lives are we invited to question the very foundations of everything we now believe? Everything. Exactly. So here we are. To the extent that resistance arises, expect that. That is perfectly normal. There is nothing wrong with you. This is the ego and the goal of spirituality, not just this course, by the way, but all of it, is to set the ego aside. All roads lead to God in the end. There are many doors. This explains the sheer multitude of spiritual traditions in this world, from the traditional religions to all of the other modalities and practices and traditions, all of it. They all lead to the same place because only God is. Where else are these roads going to eventually lead? There's no place else to go. All right. Questions are more than welcome if you have them. If you would like to type out a comment just to say hello or whatever else you would like to add here, please do so. These comments are an open forum for discussion. That's the intention here. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. We'd love to have you join us. Thank you to all of you who have recently subscribed. There have been a number of you recently here, so thank you for doing that. This is the prompt, by the way, if you're interested, that arrow in the corner of your screen. Go ahead and click that, hover over that. You'll be prompted to subscribe and join us. Please do, because these discussions take place several times a week right here on YouTube. Okay, so thank you as always for joining me. Again, questions are more than welcome if you've got them, and I will talk to you all very soon.